Alright, hey guys, this is KVNL HD2 Omaha, and it's 8 o'clock, a little after 8 on Tuesday, which means this is the Tier 3 podcast. I'm Eric Anderson.
And I'm Jim Aduri.
And this is the show where if we had intro music, this is where it would go.
But we don't.
Actually, that's just the thing. This is the show where we're all replaced by robots. That's what's going to happen.
Indeed. In fact, we're developing those robots right now.
So, last week, I don't know, you probably didn't listen to the show live, but if you listen to it on YouTube, a bunch of stuff is cut out, so you didn't hear it. But before the show, we had audio problems, and after the show, we had audio problems, and during the show, we had audio problems. It was an
audio problem.
It was quite, but this week we have it all figured out. So hopefully you can hear this. We've already messed up. It's like,
yes.
Is the sound delayed on Mav Radioscope? Obviously, there's a delay when you push stuff out to the internet over the air.
But there's such a huge delay, we did not know.
Yeah. So I'm trying to say, hey, stay tuned. Tier 3 is up next, and we don't hear anything over the live.
So we say it again.
So we said it again, and then we heard the first one.
That was quite interesting.
Oh yes. Delays are so awesome. It's lag. What can you say about lag in video games? Oh my gosh.
Lag kills, they say, and I say it does.
Well, that's about it for announcements. This week's going to be better. So this is the show where we're all replaced by robots. That's our second story. Let's get into the news. First story, though, this week, Google has announced it's launching Google Music, whether it has permission to or not.
It's quite a fun thing to hear that Google's trying their best but may not have a sign up with all the major record companies, so you may not be able to catch all their songs the first week.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if you should be discouraged or should just go back to iTunes.
Well, I've got Google Music is in beta right now. It's been in beta for so long because it couldn't get deals done, settled with the major record labels.
And now, 1 week from going live, going completely, what is it called? What's that?
Live, going live. They still don't have labels.
2 out of 4.
Yeah.
2 out of 4 major companies, and one of them I think was SA Music or something like that, and I believe the other one was a Citigroup Music record company or something like that as well. Sorry, I'm not too well versed with the music.
Well, it's interesting though. They've announced that they're just going to take it live, whether they have a deal by the end of this week or not. I think they're going live next week with it. And I've got an account on the beta because I just get accounts on everything Google. Google owns my life.
Yes, they do.
I get beta accounts on pretty much everything just to try it out.
They send them bills. They send them bills that we own you. Please pay us.
With your life.
Yes.
But I tried uploading some of my library, because you can upload your library to...
Yeah, to have your own playlist and stuff, I think.
The nice feature is wherever, you can access your music wherever you are from whatever device. Like I upload my iTunes library to Google Music, and then I can access it, play it from my smartphone if I have internet access, wherever I am. The thing is, it takes forever, at least it did when it was in beta, to upload songs to Google.
That's weird, because I thought that would be the least of Google's concerns, having bandwidth usage. So we were wondering where they put that usage to.
Yeah, it's been a long time though since I even have gone and logged into my Google Music beta account. So maybe they've.
I'm pretty sure they should have changed by now, because they are a company which believe in having fast connections.
Yes, they're a company who likes to be on top of the ball and have their products ready to go when they're launched. Yes. They said as they launched with only 2 of the 4 major record labels.
Indeed. There's also the fact, like, I think Google was one of the few companies that has in their SOP, that is, what is it for?
What is SOP?
It's basically standard operating procedures. So they had it in their SOP saying that do no evil. So that was, my professor brought me up on that, and that was quite an interesting thing, because apparently the founder, one of the original 2 founders of Google, wrote that down in their standard operating procedures, and those are like the guidelines which they must follow.
Do no evil.
Do no evil.
I don't know. Has Google followed that guideline?
I don't know yet. We've got yet to see.
Yeah.
Seems like they're okay. They're not the same as some other companies, but
I don't know. That's interesting. Okay. Well, we'll see how that turns out. I think they are launching next week. Is that correct? Next week or the week after.
Yes,
sometime soon. Whether they have deals
you'll
settled by then.
You'll probably see them delayed. Don't worry.
TBD, to be determined. IBM's working hard to replace humans. Very hard.
They're close. They're very close.
What was the thing that IBM did on Jeopardy? Watson.
Oh yeah,
Watson.
the chess master or something?
The Jeopardy, they ask it questions and it would answer in real time.
There's also one...
they did one with chess.
Yes, there is a supercomputer with chess which actually is faster and better than some of the best players in the world. Though they have not tested with all of them, but it is better than some humans at chess. And computers that have been proven to not even come close to beating the overall potential of the human mind, but we see...
IBM's getting close.
Yeah.
IBM's getting close. The headline of this article from the Scientific American reads, IBM simulates 4.5% of the human brain and all of the cat brain.
Oh my gosh.
This is pretty crazy.
And I think it was 175,000 processors they used in their supercomputer, each one equivalent to, I think, a regular PC processor with 1 GB of RAM.
It's called the Blue Gene is what they are calling this, the cutting-edge supercomputer.
So 175,000 computers in one.
It simulated 4.5% of the brain's neurons and the connections
the synapses,
among them. Yep, synapses. That's about 1 billion neurons and 10 trillion synapses that this supercomputer...
However, the brain has many more.
Exactly. In total, the brain has roughly 20 billion neurons and 200 trillion synapses. But, and this is the crazy part, by 2019, IBM predicts it will need to hook up 8,800,000 processors,
I have no idea.
which it hopes to achieve by 2019.
It just scares me.
If they are able to achieve that many connections, that many processors by 2019, it will rival the cortex in
the full functionality of the human cortex, which is your center of thought, which is your consciousness.
That's just maybe way down the road.
No, but that could actually show the creation of a fully conscious computer. Since your mind is conscious, because your mind has a consciousness just because of that processing power, it could possibly give rise to a completely conscious
robot army.
Skynet.
I mean, that's just, it's crazy to me.
Going live.
It's crazy to me that IBM thinks they can do this by 2019.
Which is, actually, for me, it's not too crazy because IBM is IBM.
They are on the cutting edge right now of this kind of AI stuff.
Indeed, we will see. We will see in another about 8 years whether they manage to create a consciousness or not.
We've got a good start. We've got drones out there flying around. Of course, they're being brought down by malware, but that's another story. If IBM does this and they create, this
self-conscious drones, then
can we bring them down with malware if they started attacking us?
Maybe just. Oh no!
Please,
they will kill the malware.
Please, IBM, if you're listening to this show at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday night, someone is. Put a kill switch on your robot army, please.
Put all kinds of kill switches. Put the physical ones. Try and create a telepathic one, basically, so the human mind can switch them off.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure you could do that, IBM. I'm pretty sure you could.
It's going to be interesting. I'm sure we'll hear more on this, but that's just crazy. 2019 is when robots are going to come alive. Okay. So, Skype, onto Skype.
So all of you Skype users out there, be aware.
Yeah, Skype security flaw, and the headline reads, potential terrorist threat. I don't think it's that bad, but this was recently found. I don't know if it's in the recent update to Skype. I don't know how much you use Skype, Jay, I use it a lot. I recently had to update it, and I don't know if this is with the recent update or if it's...
I believe it's beforehand, but I think the recent update has caused it to be more prominent or be more noticeable. I think that's what they said, that it's been there, but it's become much more obvious on how to exploit it.
Yeah, and it's very easy to exploit. That's the scary thing.
High school kids.
It gives whoever does the hack can find out the physical location of the...
Using the IP address is usually...
Also trace...
that's actually, yeah. It's kind of surprising because if you're using a phone, then the IP address may not be...
I don't know how it works. I don't know how it works with a phone.
But kind of phones is kind of like if you're using... Obviously, if you're using a hotspot or from a mobile phone, you're basically connecting to towers. Now, what the towers does is they don't have a specific IP address. They just use random IP addresses or a certain number of IP addresses out of a certain list. But then again, that would only help whoever's listening in on the IP address narrow your location down up to maybe about 40 miles of where you are. So that is why that's probably not as effective. That's not going to affect mobile phones that much.
I think this is mainly talking about PCs, Macs.
Yeah, because you're going to sit down in a location to Skype.
I use, on that side note though, I use my smartphone all the time for Skype. Skype mobile.
Your smartphone will probably be more safe than...
Yeah, but if you use Skype on a PC or a Mac, I'll just read the first paragraph here. The serious security breach in the Internet Video Chat program, which boasts over 500 million users around the globe, means that any evil computer nerd could easily hunt down users' whereabouts, according to a study authored by a NYU professor. And Skype, they jumped on this. They were quick to downplay the importance, the security risk
which
of this.
Kind of makes me question how serious it actually is. It could be serious since they reacted so...
It is serious, I think. I mean, it's a very big flaw. I mean, anyone with basic computer skills and know how to hack can find your physical location. They can also trace your file sharing through that.
That would be quite interesting.
So they can basically see a lot of what you're doing. Skype is now linked to Facebook. You can link your Facebook profile in there. So once these guys gain access to your Skype account, they've got access to Facebook, anything you have on Facebook, all your files that you've shared, everything.
The only thing I would say about the file sharing part would be they'd actually have to physically be within the reach of your connection to be able to hack you easily, unless of course they're pro hackers. Now that's something which is more difficult to do, seeing file sharing. But checking up your location is much easier to do, since just checking the IP address for the location, you could even just give an IP address to Google and ask it where that location is, and it would probably tell you. So that is why checking your location is much easier than actually checking what files you're sharing online and stuff, because that will be a bit more difficult. So I would say that's less of a threat in terms of what kind of person you are. If you're some kind of huge CEO of a big company going to do a big deal, then you should be scared. But
the headline of this says it's a potential terrorist threat, which means that in the paragraph in the article it says, terrorists or criminals could use the security graph to determine locations of groups of government officials or employees of a large organization. I find it hard to believe that large organizations, government or not, are using Skype as a method of communication. They'd probably be over private VPNs.
Yes, that's quite a big possibility. But if you're just sitting in an airport waiting for your flight and you want to tell your company that you're over here, then it's more possible that they're using Skype. See, I'm going to have to go kind of against you in that, because when they'll use the private VPNs when they're actually talking,
in a big meeting.
Yeah, when they're actually talking some big deal, is going down, some big news. And by the way, for all those people who don't know what a VPN is, it's basically a verified private network, which is like a special network created between certain routers and can only be accessed using certain software and using certain password.
If you wonder what VPN was.
I'm just making sure, because for a while I did not know what it was. I did not remember.
But like you said, they sit down in the airport, jump on Skype quick, tell them we're going to be there. That's not important information though. The terrorists are probably going to be after somewhat important information, like what would be discussed at a meeting. in which I don't think the government will be using Skype. Maybe I'm wrong. We are in a little bit of that. So maybe we went with the free version of Skype. That's what I use.
Especially without the VPN, it's going to be quite obvious.
I guess, looking at that situation from that angle, it's possible that the government uses Skype. I don't know.
But it's not probable.
But yeah, for the ordinary user who uses Skype, until this is fixed, just be aware of what you're doing on Skype, the videos.
If you're somewhere where you don't want people to know, then you should probably avoid Skype.
Just how this happens. It is true. The study successfully tracked 10,000 randomly chosen Skype users over a 2-week period. Researchers also used the flaw to successfully track one of their own researchers as he traveled from New York to Chicago, back to New York, and then back home to his home in France.
Yeah.
So they can track you very, very easily and very accurately.
Specific, yeah.
So it's just.
Now the only real question I have is, would they be able to narrow your location down as to what general area you're in, or would it be?
I don't know.
That's a real question.
I'm not sure how close it can get you. If it's like Google Maps, or is it I forget what app it is on my phone that pinpoints me within like 4 feet. That's just crazy.
I think that's Maps.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's almost scary how close that can get you. That's using GPS and the satellites. So, all right. You read up on this one. The Dell XPS 14Z is coming into America. It's basically the rival. We're starting to see some competition towards the MacBook Air from the PC side.
Actually, it's surprising, but I read up a little bit more about it. Found out that this is actually better than the MacBook Air, which is.
He's trying to find it. He's searching through a bunch of tabs right now. He's got like 30 of them open on the top of his computer, and none of them appear to be this article.
Oh boy. Yeah, this is okay, found it. Anyway, so the surprising part actually is it's got the optical drive, even though it's like about 23 millimeters.
And that's a big plus. I feel a lot of people don't buy the MacBook Air because it doesn't have a optical drive.
Yeah, optical drive.
Which, if you have to install software on the MacBook Air, I know that you either have to get an external drive or you can do it from one of their desktops. You can do it wirelessly.
Yes.
However, that's the downside for installing software.
Yes, that is true, because especially if you're buying like off Microsoft Office or something straight off the bat using the disks, then it's going to be very difficult to download it onto your laptop without an optical drive.
But I guess more things are moving towards digital download.
Yeah, because like I bought my version of Microsoft Office online on Amazon, which gave me. No, I did. I had to buy it. I had to buy it for my new laptop.
I believe you.
For my new laptop, I did. So that's one point. However, this new laptop does still feature old stuff. So if you still have a whole bunch of DVDs lying around in your house that you don't have a working DVD drive anymore, or if you want to borrow DVDs from your friend or something like that instead of having to buy the movies, this is pretty much more convenient, considering you could actually watch the. It's got a pretty slim profile, and the screen is supposed to be a 720p HD screen, which is surprisingly good considering how thin it is and how small the laptop is.
Yep.
And it comes in many features, like many options are available for it. You can have a i5 processor or an i7 processor, which I'm pretty sure most of you know are pretty good. And it's got the HDDs if you want, that's hard disk drives.
Or the SSDs.
Yeah, the SSDs are also available.
You can get a 256 gigabyte solid state drive.
Which is pretty good, but you don't know the price difference. See, the entire advantage of the price is the entire advantage of this is the price, which you're actually getting a device which may be even considered much better than the MacBook Air for about $200-300 less.
Yeah.
Because
the starting price, lowest.
The minimum price.
Lowest specs. Yeah. Lowest price is $1,000, $999. That's with a Core i5 in it.
I think the smaller HDD.
It's going to have the lowest specs possible at $999. You can go all the way up to $1,600
And that'll probably, and you can actually add your own graphics card in it as well.
Yeah, that's more than likely got the, that has, it says right there, the NVIDIA GeForce GT 520M. That's a discrete graphics card. That's a pretty good one.
That's a pretty good one, because the highest one they've come out right now is a 580, and they just increment by, I think, 20 each time. So this would be at least...
Yeah, if you spent the full $1,600 on this, for this laptop, it'd be a pretty good,
now,
be a very decent laptop.
The only question I have for them is the battery life.
That's always questionable on those.
Yes, that's because I have a Dell.
I would venture to say that the MacBook Air is still going to beat it, because Apple is crazy with battery life.
Indeed, because I have two Dells, and one of their batteries, died very soon.
Yeah, the battery on my laptop lasts about 2.5 hours, and that's a 9 cell. So.
Yeah, same here.
What do we have next? Oh, more hard drive news.
This is interesting.
They might be hard to find in the coming days.
So stack up on them. Maybe not.
There's been some flooding in Thailand.
And the factories are down.
Yeah. No, this actually is kind of serious. This is by CNET. Hard drives could get scarce. It's actually out of Apple, published by CNET. But Thailand is where a lot of...
I think it's about 70% market share.
Right. 70% to 80% of the market of hard disk motors, the little motors that spin the disks, are made in Thailand, which is under some water.
Under a lot of water.
Yeah. So they expect, Apple fully expects hard disks to be very hard to come by in the coming months.
And they had a few, not weeks, because they have all companies which make netbooks and notebooks and actually have about I think about 4 weeks storage, and the minimum they can possibly have is about 2 or 3 weeks inventory, where they would have them at least for 2 and 3 more weeks of sales, of projected sales.
So these disks were all sitting there, nice and clean, and then they got flooded out.
No, but they have these inventories available stateside. They have them available.
Okay, yeah.
But they're
once those run out,
and the approximated time for the factories to be brought up again, fixed, and the people start back at work, that could take months, and that could take even a year, because the equipment there is probably gone.
Yeah.
The water just carried it away.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, when 70 to 80% of the market is coming out of there.
You may see Western Digital and I think it's Seagate.
Yeah, Western Digital and Seagate are big hard drive manufacturers.
And they get a lot of their hard drives from these people, from Taiwan, in fact. So Thailand, I'm mistaken. And but however, you can probably, we hope to see the rise of the SSD market possibly this time. So at least I do, because I want to see SSDs become more available, more cheaper.
And SSDs aren't coming out of Thailand, are they?
No, the SSDs apparently are mostly coming out of India and South Africa.
Yeah. So maybe people will start going over to those. I don't know. It depends on how long this lasts, I guess. If it lasts long enough for more people buying computers at that point to go over to SSDs. They believe
the prices will probably go up, since the factory equipment replacement costs, the workforce costs and stuff will increase because of the lack of factories.
Well, and SSDs aren't
cheap
right now.
Yeah. And SSDs are pretty expensive. However, they may be the new alternative, and people may focus more on them.
They are faster. They are
much faster, and they are considered to be more efficient.
But the firmware is the big problem on SSDs. You actually have to update firmware on those every now and then.
Because Microsoft just kills you
for
that, because they've got firmware updates coming out almost every month, and just messes your hard drive up.
Yeah, there's lots of hard drive users out there that report their hard drive just flat fails after firmware update.
If you've got an SSD, you should get cloud storage.
You have to be kind of careful about it. SSDs, I get a lower gigabyte one for a cheaper price, and then just basically to run your operating system off of.
Yeah.
Any storage you're actually going to do, that way your operating system, your computer will run really fast. Any actual storage you're going to do, I'd still put it on a standard HDD.
Yeah. Because you probably want a solid state drive for the entire purpose of faster memory access and of running programs much faster.
Yeah. Okay, enough of that. Let's skip that one.
Enough of you, Eric.
Let's go to video games. We need, okay, if anyone out there knows how to make music, just throw a little jingle together for our podcast, for little segments from like news
really
to
nice.
video games to Apple News. That would be excellent because we could really use it.
Or we could try and make sounds and make you all laugh by being sad.
Video games. And with that segue, Hulu Plus is making its way onto the Nintendo 3DS and Wii.
Hulu, yay!
Netflix is already on there. I use Hulu sometimes. I actually not very at all recently. I've never used Netflix, so I don't really know much about this. But Hulu Plus is coming over to the Wii, Nintendo 3DS. They already have Netflix, right?
Yeah, I do believe that
the 3DS has Netflix. I know that. And
Wii has Netflix already. I've actually seen, but they have a special thing. They actually have to have a disc. They have to have the Netflix CD. Or the Netflix DVD. I don't know what it is. It's a bit annoying, but well, it's still there.
So it's announced for the original Wii, Hulu Plus on the original Wii. It's not confirmed. Not confirmed for the Wii.
And I already believe that the Hulu Plus is already there on other consoles, so I believe it's there on Xbox. I'm not sure though.
Sony have it?
Sony, I'm not sure.
Wait. Okay. The move puts Hulu's premium subscriber offering on all three major home video consoles now. So yep, it's on all three.
It's all on three. Okay.
So that's interesting.
It'll change things up a bit.
Yeah, I don't know. Home consoles. I'm not talking about the portable ones like the Nintendo 3DS, but the Wii, the Xbox, and the PS3 are more and more becoming the center of entertainment, media devices. That's all you need. The PS3 very much so. A lot of people
because of the
have a PS3 and that's it. Yep, it has the Blu-ray in it, and that's a big selling point over the 360.
Yes, and it also has like the optical sound ports and all that, which is kind of nice because that is the HD sound too. So you could actually connect that to your home theater system directly.
In fact, we were using it up here in the dorms.
Where they have a new theater system.
Yeah, for our movie theater because we are just that awesome. Third floor Scott Hall. Yes, movie theater.
We've got an 82.
But they were using a PS3 for that for a while, and then they
decided to go off to a DVD or DVD Blu-ray player.
Which was nice because
they still do have the HD receiver for the movies. No, sorry, for cable and for sound and everything, because they have 11.2 surround sound. They need the HD receivers.
Yeah, I don't know how that's kind of set up kind of janky, but
yeah, it is a bit.
Okay, let's get into this story though. This is big news. Well, it's a kind of controversial article put out by CNET's Jeff Bakalar. He does the 404 podcast over at CNET. I don't have a problem plugging this podcast because I absolutely love it. Great podcast. It's not at the same time as ours, so I don't have a problem telling you guys to go watch it. If it was at the same time as ours, that'd be a different story. You have to watch it. But they have a video, so
we're trying to get video in here.
It's not gonna happen. Okay, but he put out an article basically giving his opinion that portable gaming is done. It's over. Sony and Nintendo should throw in the towel on the PlayStation Vita, Nintendo 3DS. It's gone. It's over.
And the hardcore portable gaming devices are going down. That's what he's saying.
It's basically the classic all-in-one smartphone versus the hardcore handheld gaming device, such as the PSP or
he's
3DS.
He's got some good ideas about it, but I would still kind of be toward, I don't know, I would be kind of in the middle because I have a different idea towards it as well.
Okay, do we agree with him? Is portable gaming just going to go out? Because that's what he's saying. It's done. It's not going to exist anymore. It's all going to go over to the smartphones.
It's going to be very little. Like I'm pretty sure it's going to be reduced, but still, people like actual kids and stuff who like to play games for long periods of time are still a big market.
Exactly. The younger market, it's always going to be there. I think
because you're not going to give a 12-year-old an iPhone 5.
Well, some might. There
are. But it's much more affordable to try and, instead of getting them an iPhone 5, or an iPhone 4S,
all that stuff.
And that's like about $100 a month. So instead of doing that, they might as well give them a PS Vita, which is I think about $400 now. $300.
$250 and $300.
$300.
Well, it's not out yet. That's another story. I'm looking forward to that. But I think you'll always see kids playing them. The Nintendo 3DS, it was kind of a flop, but every kid walking around, they've got a Nintendo handheld.
That's true, because the previous Nintendos were pretty good. 3D didn't really work as they expected it to, but the truth is that still Nintendo still is doing very good business on the 3.
Well, and the problem with that was that we're kind of getting sidetracked here, but the problem with the launch of the 3DS was games. It didn't have any launch titles, big launch titles with it. There was no Mario, there was no Zelda at launch time.
Very disappointing. That's probably one of the bigger reasons for its failure.
I believe that is a huge reason. Everybody, you can go buy the console,
you don't have,
but there's no games. That was a big downside. But back to the the video game handheld versus smartphone debate. I think we're going to see. I agree with you. I think we're going to see a decline in them, but I don't think they're ever going to go away.
Yeah.
Hardcore gamers, the biggest thing is when it comes down to control. You were saying Dead Space on the iPad or iPod Touch. It looks really good, but the control scheme is not there with the touch screen.
Play.
Yeah,
truly,
it looks great. Looks very shiny and pretty to look at. Impossible to play without buttons. Just it's not playable. So you could put that over on one of the 3DS.
The truth is, they did have the Sony Xperia for a while, which is, I think, a phone, which, quote, in this, he says the Sony Xperia lackluster phone was not as good as Sony expected it to be, which is totally true.
That's true.
And that is why I do believe that they still have an issue there.
But could that get better? Could we start to see phones with more buttons on them push towards gamers?
You're actually seeing more phones going away from buttons now.
That's true. Is it going to go the opposite way now?
Indeed. Like, how are you going to play? Like, is it going to be some kind of virtual touchpad?
With all these apps being announced, a lot of them are games. Are we going to see a reintroduction of buttons? Maybe an accessory that wraps around it with the buttons?
The writer of this article actually clearly mentions that a lot of these phones, like if you're in a waiting room for 25 minutes, you'd rather have a phone or something with a simple game like Angry Birds or something like that, because you're not going to be, you don't want to start a level in a hardcore game and not be able to complete it.
Yep.
Especially if you have to drive right after, what are you going to do? You're going to pause it and you're going to keep the battery, and the battery's going to die before your game gets finished.
Yep.
It's a lot more towards casual gamers or hardcore gamers.
Yep. And I think that's the biggest gap here, that smartphones, they can't make that jump. A hardcore gamer, he'll have a smartphone. He's also going to have PlayStation Vita.
Yeah.
Now
though it's also kind of debatable, because I know a lot of hardcore gamers, including myself up to a large extent, where I don't want a portable gaming device anymore. I just want my nice portable gaming laptop.
That's true.
Or I want my sit-at-home PS3,
consoles.
Xbox, or even the desktop, which is a high-performance machine.
So you would just get rid of the console or the portables entirely.
But I believe that the portables are a very good source for very good thing for parents to buy their children, because they're convenient. Like my cousin, my 12-year-old cousin, has a DS. But she is much more inclined to playing the DS than she would be to take an iPod or something. She'd play an iPod maybe for an hour, but she wouldn't want to have that for like a road, like a 5-hour road trip.
Yeah, and when you go in, there's a place, a lot of little kids, they're all playing little Nintendo games. So, I don't think they're ever going to go away. The phone thing is interesting. There's been rumors of Nintendo getting into the phone market. You think that'll ever happen?
It's a big question, because Nintendo could just dominate the handheld arena.
Keep trying to do that, but they're kind of slipping a little with the 3DS.
It would be true, because the 3DS was more like a marketing failure and more like a business failure than it was an actual device failure, because the device itself is pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, I see your point.
But the overall point is they're going to have to refine their business model, which, by the way, was pretty good before the 3DS, because they had a lot of game titles coming out at the same time, a lot of specific games just for themselves. Like even the GameCube, I think, was the last real, normal console. This is not portable. I'm just going to go away a bit from our topic. The GameCube was quite interesting because it had, I think it had Melee.
Yep.
It had Super Smash Brothers Melee, which was much better than the one that came up for the Wii.
People still play Melee.
We have a GameCube right in our room, and we believe it's better than the Wii.
Stats, and they've done studies on that, and people play Melee more than the Wii version. Brawl.
Yeah. I don't even know its name.
So
in that sense, a lot of these older business models, in fact, turned out to be better. The reason that Nintendo probably changed was to try and get a foothold into the market before Sony could release their PSP 3000 and the PSP Vita, or the PS Vita now. So that is like one of the factors that have influenced them to be rushed and not be clear. But I believe that they could have done a much better job.
He brings social networking into this article too on handhelds. Basically, that and the fact that if it's not a phone, I'm not going to buy it. Is that true? Does it have to have the phone?
The truth is that you don't need the phone in there because you have Skype nowadays.
Okay.
And even with Skype's vulnerability, you still see a lot of uses. You could actually make calls through Skype.
Yep, with Wi-Fi.
Yes.
Wi-Fi.
No, you could even get, I believe that a lot of portable gaming devices could get the data plans only and could end up having online players everywhere.
The Vita will have a 3G connection.
Exactly. See, that's what I'm talking about. You're talking about Skype all of a sudden, and you have your data plan.
And that leads me into this next bit of this article. The PS Vita is shipping with Skype, Twitter, Facebook, and Foursquare apps.
Exactly.
So
there we go.
I think the Vita, I can't wait for this console. It's going to do very well, I think, as a portable.
Because it's got the best graphics.
Everything except for a phone. That is the only thing this console is lacking.
And it's got buttons, which we like, by the way.
The only thing is that size matters. It is
pretty big.
Pretty bulky. From what I saw, maybe it's not quite big. It does look, it's thicker. It's definitely thicker.
I had the PSP 2000, I think, and that was pretty thin compared to the PSP 1000, and I believe this looks a bit more like the PSP 1000, the very first PSP that came out.
I agree. Yeah.
But it should have the features which will make it worth it.
We'll probably have a whole show dedicated to that console once it comes out.
Once it does come out.
But anyway, so that's just a very interesting article. You can go read it for yourself. The link will be in the show notes. It's by Jeff Backlard of CNET.com. Very, very interesting. So let's go to Apple News.
Oh no.
Apple News!
You gotta change the themes, dude.
I don't know any theme song. Okay. 60 Minutes interview. There was a Discovery Channel by the Mythbusters going over Steve Jobs' life. I didn't get a chance to watch that one. I did go back and watch online the 60 Minutes interview with Walter Isaacson, who was the writer of Steve Jobs' biography. Very, very good. There's just some crazy stuff in there. Steve isn't all what he appears to be on stage during the keynotes.
It is quite true because Steve Jobs, all these corporate giants just seem like devils or monsters sometimes.
Steve Jobs was. He could be very mean.
But the truth is that behind there's some reason definitely which goes under.
He was able to back it up with reason though. It's very interesting. They go into how he was adopted, and they go into how he eventually found his
biological parents.
And his dad was working at he managed a restaurant chain in Silicon Valley that Steve Jobs actually went to, and he never knew. He had met his father before and never actually knew it. And when his sister, Steve Jobs, eventually met his sister, and they went together to find their dad. And Steve said, "Why don't you go on and find him by yourself?" Go in, and that's when his sister found out that their dad ran this business chain. And what was really crazy is she was talking to her dad, and he goes, "Yeah, I've got all kinds of great big names coming into my store now. It's really, really good. Even Steve Jobs comes in here every now and then." It's just crazy.
Oh,
he's your son. It's really, really interesting to listen to. Some of it's just crazy. The links, it's in 2 parts on CBS's website, so the links to that will be in the show notes again.
That's quite interesting to see, because you're talking about one of the most influential people in the computer age.
Yep.
And you're actually seeing all these down-to-earth, normal human things that actually happen to this person.
Yeah, they talk a little bit about
that's what makes you think that all of these people were just like us and we could just be as good as them.
It is very interesting. I encourage you guys to go listen to it, watch it on CBS.
CBS cares.
CBS cares.
Sorry, that's an inside joke.
Craig Ferguson.
Yes.
The MacBook Pros are getting a refresh, which is very surprising. There was no forewarning of this, no mentioning.
During the conference.
Yep. The entry-level MacBook Pro is now sporting the 2.4 gigahertz dual-core Intel Core i5 processor. Also a larger 500 gigabyte, 5400 RPM hard drive at the same cost of $1,200. The 13-inch MacBook Pro has a 2.8 gigahertz dual-core Intel Core i7.
Both of them are 13-inch.
Upgrade, yeah. Upgraded hard drive to 750 gigs
That's
for
$1,500.
The 15-inch models both have Core i7s in them.
And they're 2.2 gigahertz, 2.2 and 2.4 respectively. They also have just a difference.
500 and 750
gigs again, same thing, and the graphics cards, of course.
The graphics cards are the Radeons, of course, AMD's. The lower one has 6750 and the higher one's got
6770.
Yep.
But the prices are.
What's that say?
$1,800 and $2,200.
Yeah, so they get pretty expensive. The MacBook Pros, I'm not a huge fan of Apple laptops.
No.
Especially just the standard MacBooks. I despise those. The MacBook Pros, however, I could live with. They are a nice machine.
Indeed.
They can actually, especially these bigger ones. Those bigger ones are very nice. I mean, I've got an Alienware sitting here in front of me, and those could probably just as good, if not rival that.
But for a cheaper cost, actually.
Yeah. The entry-level MacBook Pros, they're decent. I don't know. That's just probably a standard computer. Well, computer comparable to normal PC. Just the difference in operating system.
Like we just talked about the Dell XPS 14Z, which would be a good rival against
entry-level MacBook Pro.
Yes.
And then the MacBook standards, just throw them in the trash. That's what you do with it.
Yes. And the MacBook Pro, though, is the 17-inch is, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a decent computer. More Apple news. Did you look at this? The iPad smart cover flaw.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that.
This is very interesting. It works in iOS 5, possibly iOS 4.3. Basically, if you have a smart cover, which almost everyone does because that's what was sold right next to the iPad to as it was launched. If you lock your iPad, even with a security code, and you put the smart cover over it, okay,
and you pull it up,
lock it, do something with the power button, pull it up, you can automatically go to the home screen, bypass all the security. It's just crazy. The only thing is, you can't open any apps, so the apps already have to be open if you're going to actually get into it. You can move around on the home screen, you can't actually open any apps though. However, if the person's iPad who you're trying to open, assuming it's not yours,
has all the apps active already.
If they've got their email open, if they've got a Word, whatever, open on it, Facebook,
all the data would be compromised.
You can mess around in the app. You can
I thought these covers were pretty good initially.
They're really cool covers. They're decent covers. They protect the iPad.
I actually saw an iPad with covers with the cover.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice, but this is seemingly a bad flaw.
And again, we'll have the link in the show notes, but there's a video of it actually working. It does work. Here's how to recreate it. You lock a password-protected iPad 2. You hold down the power button until the iPad 2 reaches the turn-off slider. You don't turn it off. You just hold down. You get that slider button that says you want to turn it on. Get to that. You close the smart cover, open it back up, and click cancel on the bottom of the screen. And it takes you right to the home, bypassing all security. Very easy. Anyone can do it.
You just told everybody.
Monkey can do it.
You just told everybody.
Yep.
Now everyone could do it.
There is a video of how it works. So it's
teaching you how to do illegal things.
However, you can. There's evidently this is what confuses me. They're throwing this out as a security flaw, but there's a temporary fix by disabling smart cover unlocking in the iPad 2 settings. So evidently,
it's already been corrected.
There's some. No, it hasn't been corrected because you can bypass the security. You're not supposed to be able to do that. But there's evidently some sort of setting and interface with the smart cover that allows the smart cover to unlock an iPad. Yeah. I didn't know that. I didn't know that functionality was there.
So you can disable that?
However, it's still not supposed to bypass the security, which is still bug here. So, it's interesting if you have an iPad 2 with a smart cover. Close all your apps and you're pretty much safe because they can't open any of the apps and just be able to get to the home screen. Don't leave your iPad laying around.
Do not. Do not do that.
So, that's pretty much it for news.
Talking about Apple, we actually wanted to say that the iPhone was not used to film the Avengers.
There was news that broke earlier this week that said some of the trailers. We're seeing these trailers for the Avengers now, and after DVDs and DVDs currently being sold. I don't know. Are there any actually running on TV?
There is. I don't think there are any running on TV because we did see the movie. We saw the movie Captain America.
Yeah,
and they had the trailer right at the end,
which makes sense because Captain America might be.
Yes.
News broke earlier this week that parts of those trailers were actually shot with an iPhone 4, which
is not true.
To me, it didn't make any sense because those trailers would have had to been shot before the iPhone 4S camera
and
update.
They needed to be HD because you're obviously going to want to record your movie in HD.
It would have not looked cinematic quality with just an iPhone 4, and it turns out
it is not.
It was completely false.
They were just saying that the iPhone was used during the filming, not to
play Angry Birds or something like that. The person who said this was misquoted, basically. So that was interesting because it was kind of important, big news. It was, a lot of people were talking about, the Avengers was shot with an iPhone 4? What in the world? Nope, not true. Okay, so is that going to do it for news?
I think it is.
We're almost out of time. We can do this time killers one. On to time killers.
La la
tick, 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 tick. 60 minutes theme. Craigslist chop shop. It's busted. Craigslist chop shop busted when thieves tried to sell their stolen car back to the original owner.
Oh my god.
Stupidity at its finest. It was basically parts from the original car, and the person had it stolen out of their driveway and had been actually, looking through Craigslist trying to find it. And evidently, that's where you go when you lose a car. You look for it on Craigslist. I don't know how that works. He was searching through Craigslist, and he found parts of his car being sold on there. He eventually recognized the steering wheel. He knew that this was them. So he contacted police. They went to the place where these parts were being sold out of, arrested the guy
for robbery, of course,
illegal
Grand Theft Auto.
The man reported it to police, arrested the seller and an accomplice on suspicion of operating a chop shop. So he got his car parts back. Quote from the guy who had his car stolen: "It was pretty fun. We were like deep undercover." So,
oh my god,
he must have been really happy to get his car back.
Indeed, that does make sense. If you lose something, like I lost my wallet yesterday, it would be really nice to get it back.
Yeah, about that. If anyone finds a wallet,
please tell us.
The J's.
Please tell us.
But the car was a 1949 Ford shoebox, so really old car. Apparently, based on the pictures, it's a pretty nice car.
Yeah. Even though the pictures are not very good.
Alright, well, I think that's going to about do it for this week.
Okay, guys.
It's almost 9 o'clock. You can get to us on Facebook. Okay, before we do that, if you know how to put music together and you want to submit something for free that we can use for free, I emphasize the free part. Get a hold of us or just send us something. I don't care, just send us something. I can't guarantee we'll use it, but if we like it, we'll use it. Get a hold of us on Facebook. It's Tier 3 Podcast. Twitter is Tier 3 Podcast. Email is tier3podcast@gmail.com. YouTube is T3.
T3, yeah.
T3 Podcast. I think you can search for that in users. I've been trying to find it because I can never find our own podcast on YouTube. I search for it, so I always have to log into the account.
It's probably because it's not popular.
But if you search T3 Podcast under users or just in the search bar, I think it comes up like all the way to the bottom probably.
Just go to the last page.
But all our shows are uploaded to YouTube. So if you missed them, search for them, you can find them. I think Brian wasn't able to come. We didn't even say that at the beginning.
Yeah,
we should have said, Brian's not here, by the way. That's why he
I don't know. I doubt if they ever mentioned me when their day.
Brian couldn't be here this week. Should be here next week. Jake Partouche, I'm trying to talk him into coming on next week. He was going to try and be on tonight, but he couldn't. He was busy.
Yeah.
So hopefully we might have 4 people on next week. Should be a good time.
Sounds good.
I think that's going to about it. It's been the Tier 3 Podcast. We have no exit music, so we're going to have to put you back to this DRS music. So that's about it.
I guess we're just going to say bye.
Next Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Thanks for listening, guys.
And good night.
Tier 3 Podcast.
Eric, the music, come on.
About that. Once again, see you guys later.